Well, hello and welcome to the Movie Paradise. I'm your host, Nathanael Molnár, and this is part of our wrapping up 2018 discussion. Every year here on the Movie Paradise, we try to look at the year that was in film, and we talk about our best movies of the year, worst movies of the year, most surprising, most disappointing, ranking the comic book movies, and most anticipated of the year to come. And this is our most disappointing films of 2018. I am joined by our co-host, Rob Giachinta. Thanks for being here.
Life's a garden, man. Dig it.
On that great note, let's get into our discussion of the worst films of the year. So we each have three movies that pretty disappointed us this year. And so how it's going to work is Rob's going to say one, I'm going to say one, and we're going to go back and forth until we've talked about our three. So Rob, why don't you kick us off with your third most disappointing film of 2018?
My number third is a movie that I thought the trailers looked okay, but I was really excited behind the team that was in place, and that was Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg. And they had made three, in my opinion, A- to A films with Patriots Day, which was my number one movie of that year, Deepwater Horizon, which I thought was excellent, and Lone Survivor, which I loved as well. And with their latest effort in air quotes, Mile 22, you get a disjointed. It seemed like they were just. It seemed like you would make a movie with your best friend, and like maybe one of your the friend who's the director has all these ideas and they're not that great, but if you're the main star, you're kind of I guess I trust. We've gotten good stuff before. I guess I'll trust you. And Mark Wahlberg delivers one of his worst performances, I think, as this annoying asshole of a character, given no sense of realism, and no you don't feel for this guy. You don't root for him. And with an action movie, they could do everything else wrong, but if they at least get the action, you at least have something. And it's just all shaky cam, except for there's one good scene with the main star of the raid. Can't remember his name. That's the one good scene. You see it in the trailer too. And
of course, the one good scene is in the trailer.
Well, I mean, it's longer, but most of it's just shaky cam with an action that you don't care about because you don't care about the characters. The woman from The Walking Dead is horrendous in this, and Ronda Rousey just as well. They all stunk. Bad movie. We'll be on that was one. List. That was one I was saying for a while. I thought looked bad, and you're like, no, Peter Berg, Mark Wahlberg's gonna be awesome. I like to go with the numbers.
I knew when they had one trailer out that I was like, they've only had one trailer. It comes out in a week.
At least they didn't go you know them from Patriots Day.
Show footage.
Yeah, you know them from Deepwater Horizon.
A call out for Holmes and Watson, which I feel like that would be probably number one on a worst list, but we never saw it.
No.
So my number three most disappointing film of the year is one that we saw not too long ago. And it was most disappointing because of who the director is.
This one just missed mine. Just missed it.
Aquaman.
Yep.
Aquaman. James Wan. I love the guy. The Conjuring 2, Furious 7. The man is a brilliant director, and he has shown that he can be a fantastic director. And I don't know what he was on when he was doing Aquaman. The writing in this movie, I think, is atrocious. It's cheesy. It's conventional. It's aside from the production elements, it's lacking of any sort of creativity. I thought all the performances were bad. It's just dull, bloated CGI fuckfest of a mess. So the
only reason I wouldn't put it on mine is I'm not as invested in the DC universe really that much. So I can live with it not being that great. I'm not I wasn't going in wicked pumped. Say something like Avengers. If Avengers was this bad, it would obviously be on. Yeah, but I guess I was. This was probably my number 4 or 5. Because this movie stunk.
Well, I guess for me, I didn't go in Aquaman, woo!
And I didn't think it was gonna. When it had a 64, and people were just saying oh, it's fun. I was like. Ooh, let's see now. And then we saw.
I mean, I wasn't expecting this. When we were driving to the theater, I said I think it's going to be dumb fun, and I think it's going to be my third favorite DCU movie. And what did it end up being? It ended up being my second to least favorite. And I didn't think it was... Well, I certainly thought it was dumb, but I didn't think it was fun. So, I mean, for me at least, like, I wasn't rooting for this movie. Like, I wasn't super excited for this movie going in. But, like, it was on my honorable mentions for most anticipated films of the year.
Yep.
It's a comic book movie, and so I'm generally... I mean, there are some exclusions, but generally, if a comic book movie's coming out in some form or another, I'm going to be excited for it. And, I mean, when they announced Jason Momoa first as Aquaman, like, the potential for a Jason Momoa Aquaman seemed awesome. And then the potential for a James Wan directed Aquaman, awesome. And the cast that you have, like, there was so much potential there that's why I think it was so disappointing, was that you had all the right pieces in place. It just completely fumbled it. So
yeah, movie sucked.
Yeah. So, what's your number 2?
I'm sure this will be on your list. I don't know. So maybe we can talk about it together. Yeah. And it's Venom is my number 2.
That's a little later on my list. So
all right.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Or do you want to just wait and then we can just bounce to once you get...
Sure.
Okay, so Venom was my number 2. We'll just... That way it'll be easy. We'll just talk
my
about
number
it together.
2, I don't know if this is on your list.
What is it?
My number 2 is Upgrade.
It was close, but I didn't put it on.
All right, so... And it's funny because I feel like all 3 of my most disappointing are ones that there's someone who's going to be listening who's going to be like, I loved all those movies. And like...
Two of them, Lee Winnell and James Wan worked on the Insidious movies together, too.
Yeah, so for me with Upgrade... Everyone loved this movie. I don't see it at all. The writing was terrible. The performance by Logan Marshall Green.
Dollar store Tom Hardy. That's really what he is.
And then Tom Hardy was in a movie that was even more disappointing.
We'll talk about it in a second. Save it for the discussion.
Guess good on Logan Marshall Green for being in a better movie than Tom Hardy this year.
I thought he was better in that movie than Tom Hardy was in Venom.
Agreed. And I didn't even like Logan Marshall Green. I thought Logan Marshall Green was terrible in Upgrade. And with his cheesy one-liners, what, do they have to make everyone who could be slightly considered a superhero have to tell jokes every time they kick ass? Like, oh, let me make dumb jokes as I kick you in the face. Was the action cool? Yes, there was some cool action, which I did appreciate. But if you don't care about the characters and you don't care about the story and you're not invested in what's going on, the action doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that movie got unwatchable fast,
So,
I thought.
While there were cool shots, cool technical things, cool, like the design, and I didn't even know, I remember we didn't even know it was set in the future.
No, I didn't know.
That just came out of nowhere. Yeah. But, like, while there were cool elements to it that, like, keep it from being, like one of the absolute worst films of the year, there were good elements to it. I just didn't care. There was no reason for me to care. And considering the hype and the praise that was surrounding this film, people calling it one of the greatest science fiction, calling it one of the great science fiction films, not just of the year, but like 21st century. Like, the amount of praise and excitement and palpable energy surrounding this film before it came out, I was so excited. And then to sit in the theater and be like, what? This is what everyone's talking about? That's my number 2. So, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is a small film that came out during Sundance earlier in last January, and it had an awesome trailer, I thought, and a bizarro premise with great actors, and that was Sorry to Bother You. Was this movie one of my worst of the year? No, but it was totally not what I thought it was, and not in a good way. It was totally disjointed. It didn't feel like a concise movie, and people praising the directorial efforts of Boots Riley, I think, are crazy. This was clearly a movie made by an amateur filmmaker who had never made a movie. He's a musician, and he just decided to make a movie. Yeah. And it definitely shows. There's just, like, he tries to just spoon feed the audience all these metaphors and just all this symbolism that he thinks is edgy and relevant, but it comes off as tired and just odd to me, and all the performances were really wacky in it too. I did not like it. Yeah,
that was one that I was excited for, and I never ended up getting to see it.
I'd say watch it just to watch it.
Yeah, that's how I feel, kind of. But
I would say it's actually a lot of, like, I'd say the first 20 minutes was good, and then it got really boring for a lot of it. Then there was just an absolutely fucking crazy scene. I was like, all right, maybe this could go somewhere, but then it really doesn't do anything with it. It just kind of even makes it even worse. But
Yeah. You saw all that stuff like when Black Klansman came out.
Man.
Like
I didn't love Black Klansman. I think it's
yeah.
a good movie, but like
Yeah.
it is 100 times better than that.
Well, so I didn't see Sorry to Bother You, so I'm not like predisposed. Like I don't have any like vested interest in this thing. But Bruce Riley like literally sounded like a petulant child.
Oh,
like
great.
he's like, why is all Black Klansmen getting all this support, and why does nobody say anything about? Why is my movie not getting Oscar nominations? Like,
And he's saying like that Spike Lee like bought off the police or something like that.
yeah, that was all bullshit. Like literally, it just sounded like another movie was getting more buzz and attention than his movie, and he was upset. And that kind of...
I actually think Sorry to Bother You has a 96, while Klansman has like a 95.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I don't know. That just kind of turned me off from
I don't know how
Boots
the hell
Riley, and
96,
like just like I mean, people. It's not like your movie was like poorly received. Like most people liked your movie.
A lot of people
take
called
that
it
as a
like
giant,
a masterpiece.
Take that as a giant win. Don't start bitching when another movie comes out.
It made a decent amount of change too for like its budget. So.
Yeah, so he had nothing to complain about.
Just go to bed. Go to sleep.
Shave your head and go to sleep. And my number one most disappointing film of the year, the aforementioned Venom. Oh God,
this movie.
See, okay, to put in perspective, because I know you were never looking forward to this, but
I was on my top 10 most anticipated. I always
was where
when we did it.
Well, I meant like what place? It was my number 4.
7. But I mean. The thing about Venom with me is I always was a little skeptical because of Ruben Fleischer. You know my beef with him, but
he's calling you out, Ruben.
But I still was like I want to have hope in this because it has a great cast.
Yeah,
and Venom is an awesome character, I think.
Yeah,
and I thought they were going to do a rated R too at first.
That's what it's. I think Ruben Fleischer even said early on that they were going for an R rating, and then this shit happened.
PG-13 Batman and Robin like mess. I thought it was. It really was.
Oh God, this movie was atrocious. Like I'll never forget seeing Tom Hardy jump into a lobster tank for the first time. Well, only time, because I'm not going to watch it again. But
I saw it twice.
Oh, poor you. Oh, but
poor you.
Seeing him, like, and just remember, like, he's riding on the motorcycle. Brock report.
Get that shit out of here.
Wow, this movie, like I said, it was
bad directing, bad acting,
bad everything. Bad visual effects.
Action was alright, but
it wasn't even, like, good action, I didn't even think.
Wasted actors, I thought. Michelle Williams, like, what the hell is she doing in this? Woody Harrelson as Carnage, terrible. And why did they... I feel like people went in there, like, expecting to see more of him. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
And, like, it was, like, nothing, pretty much.
Well, I'm glad they didn't put him in any of the trailers. I know. People were like, where's Woody Harrelson in the trailers? Well, there's a reason why, but oh God, that movie was so... For it to be... I was so looking forward to that. Because, like, early on, before we got the first trailer.
Agreed.
I was so excited for this movie because I love the character of Venom. I think there was so much, and I didn't hate Venom in Spider-Man 3 like everyone else did, but it kind of killed the momentum for Venom. And so I was really looking forward to seeing Venom return because I feel like the character could be done. There's so much you could do with it, and I wanted to see Carnage. And you had Tom Hardy, my favorite actors, one of the best actors working right now, Tom Hardy. You had Michelle Williams coming off of Manchester by the Sea. Yep. You had Riz Ahmed coming off of Nightcrawler and everything, and Rogue One.
I like Jenny Slate.
Woody Harrelson, we had heard very early on. Jenny Slate, Ruben Fleischer, and I like Zombieland.
I love Zombieland too, but oh my god, if you watch Gangster Squad, you'll never forgive him.
And then there was so much potential, and then... when I saw that first trailer, do you remember that first trailer where it didn't no Venom?
Yeah, no Venom. I thought it was stupid.
I was like, I was livid when I saw that trailer, and I just didn't even like the direction.
And then the next trailer, I thought was even worse. And then the trailer after that was the worst out of all of them, in my opinion. I hated it. The more they kept showing Venom, the worse the trailers even got.
Eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time, like a turd in the wind.
Enough with the jokes. If you're not funny, stop telling jokes. That's my 2019 opinion.
I want less jokes in movies.
Agreed. I agree. I feel like everything's like trying to be like funny now, like the funny edgy movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our most disappointing
Yeah.
movies. To round off mine, my number 3 was Aquaman, my number 2 was Upgrade, and my number 1 was Venom.
And my number 3 was Mile 22. My number 2 was Venom. And my number 1 was Sorry to Bother You.
Yep. So that's our most disappointing films of 2018. Once again, I'm your host, Nathanael Molnár. Thanks, Rob, for being here, co-host.
Hey, it is how it is, and it ain't how it isn't.
Exactly. In the wise words of Rob Giachinta, the philosopher. So what do you think? What were some of the most disappointing films for you of 2018? Do you agree with our picks? Was there any other films that really stood out to you as being majorly disappointing that we didn't talk about? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more content. Be sure to also follow us on all of our various social medias at Movie Paradise 99. Thanks, everyone.